Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Dr. Eve here on a real quick live. Glad to be amongst the land of the living today. I hope you are doing well. It's the weekend, everybody, and as we prepare for the weekend to rest, I'm just here to ask the mere question: Are you answering the call? I left off of my live the other day talking about um, those who are answering the call and have actually started something because they're answering the call. When I say quote, "Are you answering the call?" Um, there are many of us who have literally have had a lived experience. If you live in, you didn't have many, a lifetime of experiences, and we've been called to provide solutions to some of the world's biggest problems, right? And for those of you who don't know me, my name is Dr. Eve. I am a lived experience expert, and I have lived a long life, and I've been a problem solver for most of those lives, for most of those years. And I teach others to do the same, to step into their calling, to to develop, to grow professionally in their calling, to expand their careers in their calling, to do a myriad of things by applying or standing in the gap in their calling. And so I started a nonprofit, ooh, so many years ago. And I did that as a result of realizing that there was a problem, and that problem started with me, started with my family, started with my community, started with an area or a region of the community that really needed some help. And nobody, oftentimes we wonder, even when we get this calling, we wonder why isn't there anyone who can help us? Is there anyone who can lend me an ear, or someone who can give me advice, or all those things. And when I left off the call the other day, I was talking about the importance of not skipping the steps. Not skipping the steps in developing and building a really strong foundation for what you've been called to do. Um, Years ago, when I realized that there was this problem that needed equitable distribution of resources in the community to prevent delinquency, and to prevent delinquency, or no, yeah, prevent, intervene, and or advocate for those who were either justice involved or preventing justice involved, preventing that from occurring. And so I started on the mission, and I realized, wow, I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about it. I don't know where to start. So it took me, excuse me, it took me longer than it would take most, because in the era of digital, in a digital space, because I didn't have anyone to teach me. I didn't have anyone to share with me what they learned, as they were growing. And but there are many of us over the years who have learned a lot of things. And so I knew I had to find, of course, one thing that was really important. After I figured out, is there a real need for this? Or am I just drumming this up in my head, right? Is there a real need for this, or is this all in my head? And it absolutely was not all in my head. Because I realized, after finding out where I could find the data, which was in the school report cards. It gave me demographics. It gave me the demographics that I needed. It gave me all the quantified all the reasons why what I was proposing was so important. And um, and today, that program influenced the building of a Boys and Girls Club in that area. So I am proud to have stood in the gap, to have sowed the seed, to have, and then God moved me on to showing how to develop, direct service programs. I'm now an indirect provider providing direct services to the providers who are creating programs in the community or at home school work, wherever that is. And so, but the one most important thing was one, find my data. Two, who could I connect with that would be interested in what it is that I do, or who could provide me some guidance or some mentorship and all those things. And I I understood clearly, one, I needed to be in community with the individuals who I wanted to serve, right? That way I could build a relationship, because relationships matter. It cannot be purpose over money over people. Definitely cannot be money over people when you're in the service industry. You have to desire to want to help individuals. And so after having left my job, and I did this amazing research and really developed. It took me 2 years. It took me 2 years to do the research because remember, I didn't have the research background, but God gave me the gift of doing research to be able to develop a business plan, to be able to develop a program model, to have something to work towards, to have something that would later be scalable to something big. You always have to have the plan of an exit plan as well. I didn't necessarily have an exit plan, but I knew once they built that center that I would no longer be needed in that particular area of the community. Not doing that type of service because the service would have expanded. The people with the purse strings would have been able to provide the resources, and I would no longer have to continue doing that work. And so, but the next step, the step in my process though of after getting the data was aligning myself with the individuals who could help me. And so while I was reading a lot and I was doing the research, I connected with um, ladies of distinction. I became, right? So you have to be in community with those who can help you. And so I remember number one being in community at the schools because that's where my report numbers came from. So since my numbers was telling me about all the stuff that was going on in schools, I positioned myself in the middle schools. And the reason why I positioned myself in the middle schools is because of what the data was telling me. The data was telling me that that was where the greatest need was, in the middle schools. And we only had one middle school. Yeah, one middle school in the area, and that was Welcome Middle School. So I went to teach for the school. At that time, that was the only one. But then they developed some elementary K through 8 K through 8 programs at Stokes, and a K through 8 down in deep country of Belvoir, Northwest. I believe that's the name of the school. But in the meantime, at that time, it was just welcome. So I went just like an ethnographic researcher, phenomenological researcher, and positioned myself in the middle school. And of course, I had children in middle school, so that was perfect for me because I was always of the belief that I'm not going to be creating and doing anything that's going to take me away from my familiar structure. These children needed me, my husband needed me, and whatever I was going to do, they had to be able to be invited. And so I knew that what I was doing was on the right path, and I answered the call. And in answering that call, I was able, throughout life to be able to scale, to who I am today because God just kept building and building and building and building and building upon that which He instilled in me, the Holy Spirit. So um, who did I connect with? Again, I connected with the school because that's where the data sent me. The data sent me to the school. And I went to the school. I became the PTA president. So I was providing leadership there, learning how to be a leader there as well. I also started this mentoring program at the school. And the mentoring program, because that's what I wanted to do, was to be able to mentor other students. And so I started with the girls. So I started with this program that was going throughout the community called Girl Power. And so I learned about the project. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel when there are other resources that you can actually use to support what you want to do. Equitable distribution, right? Because that was the goal. It had to be equitable. If there's nothing in the middle school where I was, then what's already working? Who's got something going? Can I use their resources? Then yes, I was able to use their resources, and I also got paid. So, but it's people over money, though. People over money. The idea was there first before any type of, support funding came. So the other thing was, so there was being the PTA president, being a substitute at the school in the middle school. That was number two. Number three, I started the mentoring program, which is once a week after school, I would mentor girls, and that was where I started the Ladies of Distinction program, and I would meet with them, and we would do different things. And the other thing that we did was I started 4-H. I became a 4-H volunteer, and again, the reason why I became a 4-H volunteer because it was that government piece. There was that government student development program development, leadership development of young people outside of schools within the community that was also a very important piece. So there's four things that happen and that you need to be thinking about. Where have you positioned yourself in population according to the call? Have you positioned yourself in population according to the call? Number two, so in positioning myself in the population according to the call, I became a substitute teacher. I became a PTA president. I started a mentoring program once a week after school. And then number four was I got sharpened my saw with volunteer leadership through 4-H. So those are four things that I did. So as you begin to think about the thing that you are starting, answering the call and starting something, um, make sure that you are positioning yourself in the population to build the relationships with the individuals that you've been called to serve. This is Dr. Eve. If you would like to join our support group or our community where we are elevating peer directed programming, where we serve peer to peer, where we serve others in our community, where we serve those who have maybe like experiences that we may have experienced. Like at one point, I was serving mothers. I was catering to mothers while I had this program, to help their children. But I was actually I had to get the permission of their moms in order for them to participate. So I was really targeting moms, right? Targeting their families, moms, right. So, at any rate, this is Dr. Eve. Wanted to just come and share and drop another nugget with you on making sure that you are in right relationship or building right relationship with those in your target population that you have been called to serve. I hope you enjoyed the video. Peace and blessings. Please join us over at the I Am Wellbeing community. If you are interested in answering your call, please visit the website and grab yourself a discovery session. See how you can get started today on starting your something and answering the call. Peace and blessings, everyone. God bless.